Hello and welcome to Romantasy Readers Podcast. My name is Nicole and I'm here with the gorgeous curly-haired Allie, looking fabulous today. Yes, the wild locks. How are you going?
I'm doing so great. We didn't acknowledge when we recorded last that I cut my hair like pretty significantly. I cut off like 10 inches. So let's acknowledge it today. It's only because I actually finally styled it. So I had the time today. We're recording at a different time. It's not a work day for me. So I was able to really get the product in there, do my little plopping with my t-shirt, diffuse it,
I
all
love
the
it.
things.
I love it. It's I'm probably going to show my age here, but Carrie Bradshaw, totally Carrie
Oh
Bradshaw from Sex
yeah.
and the City.
Yeah,
I
totally.
love it. It's gorgeous.
I not mind being compared to Carrie Bradshaw.
That's the life. Like when I was
me.
like in university, that was my anthem. Like we would catch up with friends and we would just watch Sex and the City episodes. We loved it so much. So it's a very good compliment to be considered Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. So in today's episode, we are talking about the sequel to Spark of the Everflame, Glow of the Everflame. So Allie and I, we drilled through all three of these books and we wanted to give them to you one at a time so that you can find out the summary of these books. We're going to break it down, give you theories, give you sort of our favorite romantasy tropes and all the questions we normally ask. But we're going to start with our normal question we normally start with, which is, Allie, what have you been reading this week?
I've been reading so much. I feel like I've been in such a hot streak with my reading lately. So I'm trying to think. So I finished the third book in this series that I really love called The Warriors of Thesmar or The Guardians of Thesmar by
Okay.
Helen Schuster or something. I'm so bad at remembering like names.
I'm not great
But
either.
it's super good. It's like this, it's definitely romantasy. It's this world where, there's magic, but there's also like guilds of fighters, and this woman's sort of like been raised in this guild, but they don't allow women to fight. And of course she's gonna want to fight. Really great spice. So I just finished book 3 and then book 4 comes out in like a month. So I'm super excited about that. And then I
Nice.
have also started the Bridge Kingdom series, rereading it. I've read it before, but rereading it because we're going to cover it on this podcast. So that's what I've been reading. What about you?
Well, same. After finishing Heat of the Everflame, I picked up Bridge Kingdom and I was like, I really want to reread this because we're going to be bringing it here soon. But then I've also just been getting into TV shows lately. Like Bridgerton 3 just came out. So I just devoured that, like the 4 episodes in a night. And I loved it, but I also have my frustrations with it, which I can't talk to you about yet, Allie, because you have confirmed with me that you have not watched it yet. So I'm going to have to hold that in.
Just to be fair, just so everyone understands here, it's been out for 2 days at the time that we're recording this episode. So it's not like
too long, Allie. Too long.
It's been 2 days and I haven't gotten to it yet because I've been so busy reading and preparing for the podcast. But I will be watching it very soon. But I don't want people to think that I'm just like sitting on it for like months and months or anything. It's been 2 days.
I know. But I have to admit, Bridge Kingdom is so easy to get back into. Like, I just, sometimes I'm not really a rereader that often. I have to struggle with a reread, but like straight away I'm like, oh, I'm here. Like, I love this. Yeah, this is why I love Danielle Jensen. Like, it reminds me straight away why.
I forgot how good it is. The plot. I mean, just like, it tears your heart out. The ending tears your heart out. Everything tears your heart out. I'm in the second one now. I can't wait to talk about it on this podcast because I feel like I really have a lot of good thoughts since it was like a reread for me.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, given that like my brain forgets about everything that happened in the book, like about 3 days after I've read it, we need to like do this as soon as I've finished it. Like as soon as I finish book 1, I'm going to contact you, Allie, and be like, okay, let's jump on and record before I like forget. Oh yeah, that person like went on the bridge and it was dark and I think there were cattle in there or something. Like I'm gonna like forget half the information. So got to do it straight away.
Yeah. There were many things that I was so sure were in book 1, but they weren't. I was like, wait, where's this one scene? And I was like, that's in book 2. I don't remember that at all, so it was really fun rereading it.
Yes. Super fun. All right. So getting into Glow of the Everflame by Penn Cole. So tell me, how did you find this sequel to our first Spark of the Everflame? How did you find this book?
More frustrating.
So much more frustrating. So much.
Zero spice. Like, I don't even think there's like a kiss. Well, there's a kiss, but like barely a kiss.
I swear, because I follow some reviewers and I have one that I like follow pretty religiously. And I'm sure that I saw that the first book didn't have a lot of spice, which I was like, that's fine. I expect that. Often the slow burn leads to like not really any spice in the first book. That's acceptable. Second book, I'm sure it said it had like 4 spice. It had like a 4 rating for spice. This would have nothing for me. This would have zero rating.
I would give it a 0. I wouldn't even give it my silly little, I have a ginger like rating before my chili peppers start, and the ginger rating is like just a kick, that's for something where like it's implied, but it wouldn't even get a ginger. This book would not even get a ginger.
This would get a negative. This would get a negative for me. Like, this is in like the ice range. This is where it was frustrating the hell out of me because I'm just like, come on, DM. Like, really, you've got Luther right here. You keep going on about being betrothed to Henri. If I have to hear about Henri one more time, I'm going to lose it. Because
I know. That is how I felt. I was just like, it was as if it's like, obviously we know from the get-go that Luther's going to be the guy, Yeah. It would be like reading ACOTAR, knowing that Rhysand is going to be the guy for 2 books and being like her still being obsessed with Tamlin and you just being like,
yes,
what?
Exactly. Imagine going through all of Mist and Fury. Going through all of Mist and Fury with Feyre going, oh no, but I'm betrothed to Tamlin. And then getting into Wings and Ruin and being like, oh, I'm still betrothed to Tamlin. And you'd be like, you idiot. Like, stop it. That's what this book felt like. It pushed for too long, which we'll go into more. It really, like, I'm all for a slow burn, but there was a point in this where I was just, this is getting frustrating now. Like, I need something.
Yeah, definitely. I could not believe that there was no spice. I like got to the end and I was just like, what? It's over? Which of course then I had to immediately start the next book like right away within a couple of minutes of finishing. But because I needed to know, but it was super frustrating.
Super frustrating. So how did you read this book? Did you read it on your Kindle or?
Yeah, I did this one as Kindle. I did not listen to the audiobook of this one just because of the timing of when I read it. The first one I mostly did audiobook, and then this one I mostly did. I don't even think I bought the audiobook for this one. So I can't say if the audiobook's good, but the first audiobook is good, so I assume that, it continued to be good. But yeah, mostly Kindle. What about you?
Yeah, same. It was my EPUB, my ebook. I was devouring these. I was like, my world almost stopped while I was reading all these books because when you get to that level of frustration, I just start rushing through the story to try and almost get to the spice. I'm like, when are we finally going to get to the point where we get that happy ending? Where we get that? And, and I've had a few books lately where it has come right down to like the last 50 pages when you finally get it. So I'm kind of like, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. It's going to be before challenging. It's going to be after challenging. It's going to be, and all of a sudden there's no book left. And I'm just like, what, where is it? Where's the spice? All we got was like a passionate kiss. That was all we got.
Yeah, that's literally all we got.
And her finally being like, oh yeah, maybe you're right. I should probably let Henri go. Yes, you should let Henri go.
Yeah, obviously. For those who are in the States or elsewhere, if you buy Kindle Unlimited, it's available on Kindle Unlimited, at least right now. I have a feeling it's going to go away because the first book is no longer available on Kindle Unlimited. So I suspect that she's kind of slowly phasing it out. But it was when I got it, so I didn't have to buy it.
Yeah. And guys, we need to talk about, because just as we were about to film this, yesterday, Penn Cole came out with big news that her final book, Burn of the Everflame, I'm like, the names are so similar, I get confused. Burn of the Everflame has been delayed. Its release was meant to be in June, and now she's said it is being delayed. She hasn't given a definite date yet. Looks like it's going to be another month, about 30 days, but she's not revealing anything yet. And we are wondering whether she's maybe got some news coming out soon, or what has been the delay. What are your thoughts, Allie?
Yeah, I think it's really, number one, I just want to say it was so sad how she was like, I'm so, so sorry, like just almost being afraid of her
Yeah.
readers. And that always bums me out, like when authors, especially indie authors, are like almost afraid of their readers. It's like, look, things happen, right? Like
Yeah.
you and I are the first ones to be like, give us more books, I mean, we talk all the time about how we want more from Sarah J. Maas, but at the end of the day, like, it's life. Like it
Oh,
just
yeah,
happens.
and you know what? And when they're nice enough to, like, if it's just delayed and we don't get an explanation, we might be a bit like, "Why did you delay the release?" But if
Yeah,
they're, like, "I'm really sorry, things happened and we've had to delay and it's for the best of the book," we're gonna be like, "Yes, 100%." Like, you need to
100%.
do
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, we want you to be able to release the best version of the book you can, and if it requires a delay to do that, then that's obviously what needs to be done. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But she also said, so she was like, I'm so sorry for, and she said something like for many reasons, and then she put in like parentheses or like after dashes, some good, but the book's gonna be delayed. But then she didn't ever say what those good reasons were.
Yes.
So I think that she potentially has gotten a publishing deal and it just isn't going to be able to talk about it yet. And that's really what's delaying it, is they want to make sure that they're all aligned on all the marketing and everything for it. I
Yeah.
really hope that that doesn't mean it's going to get pushed out very far. Like the publishers want to totally re-release everything, waiting, like, because we've seen
Oh.
with like Demi Winters, like getting her publishing deal was fantastic for her, but it also really slowed down kind of like
The
releasing the next
process.
book.
Yes.
So we'll have to see what happens and what comes of that. But
No, I cannot believe that Cole is an indie author. Like, that was
yeah,
probably the biggest shock for me. This is not an indie book. Like, this is
no,
just
no,
it's so high level. It's so up there with the Sarah J. Masses and easily Danielle Jensen. Just, it's so thorough and deep and complex and wonderful. So, yeah, I mean, so she 100% deserves to get a book deal, and a really good one at that.
yeah,
So I'm so happy for
absolutely.
her if that is the news we're gonna get.
Yeah.
I
Well, and
hope.
then because it's been because book one has been pulled from Kindle Unlimited, that makes me think, that she does have a deal because she's going to slowly pull the rest of them off of Kindle Unlimited
Yeah,
because
and that's what we've seen a lot of the indie authors saying, that tends to be something that stops when they get signed, is they have to pull them out of Kindle Unlimited. So it's probably your last chance, guys. If you want to jump in there and grab your copies of these books, do so now, because they're probably going to be, published properly soon, and we won't have that access again. So definitely do it
yeah,
now. But super
yeah,
excited. Fingers crossed she gets great news, and fingers crossed we're not looking at a really long delay. Hopefully it's just a month, but we will keep you guys updated. If we find out anything else, we will let you know.
yeah, yeah,
But fingers crossed it is very good news for
yeah,
our pen Cole. So, Allie, you have created for us a bit of a summary of Glow of the Everflame today. Did you want to give that to us now, to give our listeners a bit of a rundown as to this book and what happened or what didn't happen over most of it? But yes.
yes, yes. So for anyone that read this a while ago, we're just going to give you a quick little couple minute summary so you know what happened and can continue to listen to this and not be totally confused. Because if you're like me and you read it super fast, you're like, I don't remember what was in book 2 versus book 3. Okay, so Diem has mysteriously been crowned the new queen of Lemnos, and she's freaking out. So we end book 1 where literally her brother is like, oh my god, you have a crown on you, and then it ends. So we pick up in that exact same moment still. They're
Yes.
still in the woods. I love when a book picks up the exact same moment that
Yes, same.
the
Same. It was
book
like
ended.
nothing was missed. Just bang straight into it,
Just
like
saying
same
right
book.
away. Yeah. The princess um oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the princess anymore. All I can think of is Anna, but I know Lily.
Lily.
Thank you. The princess Lily sees her when she comes to have dinner with her crush, aka Diem's brother Teller. So Lily is looking for Teller, and then he sees her, and then she sees DM. Lily agrees to help hide her.
Crown.
Yes, sees her crown. Lily agrees to help hide her and takes her to this like
Cabin
royal
in the woods,
like a hunting lodge. Yeah. But then Lily immediately breaks her promise and goes with Luther.
Oh well, Queen Shmeen, whatever.
Yeah. She's like, oh well, I'm gonna just tell him. She promises, and then she immediately breaks her promise. Luther shows up at the hunting cabin, and he swears he wants to help her, but she does not trust him. Right? She's like, no, I don't trust you at all. But he takes her, and she's introduced to the ruling family, and quickly realizes that she is out of her depth.
Actually,
she's
let's stop for a sec. He also comes and he takes her back on his horse, and there's only one horse. They have to ride together, and that is a very hot horse ride. Just saying. There's chemistry absolutely. Already flying between these two.
Yeah. She does find a few people she likes, but she's kind of disappointed that the people she likes also happen to be Luther's closest friends and allies. And I'm sitting here being like, girl, that is a sign that Luther is great, that the other people you like are Luther's friends. But
they're basically like the Bat Boys and stuff, like in actor.
Exactly.
Like 100%.
And then I wrote in my little summary here, the plot's a little bit of a blur for me after this because I was reading to get to the spice.
Something happens. I was trying to get to the spice. Can't remember.
I was like, I can't really remember everything that happens because I was like, come on, get together. At some point, she feels like she's losing herself. And so she agrees to marry her childhood sweetheart, Henri.
And you're as bad as me at this point.
What?
You're just like, I don't know what happened. I was looking for the spice.
I wrote this summary like a week and a half ago because I knew I had to write the summary right away or I would forget. And even then I still didn't remember. And I haven't actually gone back and read this summary. So I'm laughing at myself from what I wrote.
That's all right. No. This is just more of a thing that I would do than what you would do. You're normally like really like, I'm thoroughly providing the detail. Whereas I'm just like, something happened. Spice. I was waiting for the spice. And then Henri was all annoying. But no, I love it. Keep going. Sorry. I'm delayed.
So at some point, right, like, she feels like she's losing herself. Henri like shows up at the palace in a moment where she's also kind of like having one of her most down times. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to marry him. And then she spends the rest of the book feeling weird that she's connected to Luther, even though she's engaged to Henri. It's just so annoying.
Actually, probably an important part that happens in this part of the story that maybe you're going to discuss it shortly, is that DM she's got all this power. She sort of knows she's got the most power, which is why she's got the crown, but she actually can't access her power whatsoever. She doesn't know how to use it. When she tries to use it, nothing happens. She can't dig into this well of power. So she's quietly freaking out because she knows she's got this challenge coming and they're trying to train her to prepare for this challenge. And she has like zero power at this point. She's got power, but she can't use it.
She can't use it. Yeah. No, that very good point. Very good point. Thank you. This is why it's a bad point.
I've got you, Allie. I've got you, girl. I'm sorted.
Perfect. When she angers the powerful houses, they kill her father, which is a really sad moment, causing her to release huge amounts of magic that surprise everyone. But otherwise, I was going to get there. Otherwise is unable to control her magic. So only really in like extreme moments of emotion, like grief when her father dies, is she able to use her magic, but otherwise can't. The day of the challenging comes, and all 20 houses challenge her, including Luther. And we're like, what the heck is going on? Why are you challenging her?
Yes, and he just like kissed her on the balcony, and then he's like challenging her as well as everyone else. Crazy.
Yeah, she feels betrayed, but she soon realizes that he did it so he could save her, and was going to kill himself and make it look like she had killed him. So she finally admits her feelings for him. Finally, and she says it in like the best way. She's like, because earlier in the book he had said, I want all of you, like I don't just want some of you. And so she finally said, like, I'm all yours, like you have all of me. Finally, so they admit their feelings. They have this spicy kiss. We're like, oh, finally, there's some, like they're together. But then she has to immediately go and almost die. in a challenge. Surprising everyone, including herself, including the reader. She gets control of her magic and has a few traits that no descendant has ever possessed. Like basically not actually having any magic affect her at all. People can just shoot
No,
magic at
she
her
actually
and
absorbs the magic.
just absorbs it. During her coronation ceremony, so she wins the challenging, then she has her coronation ceremony, where she's on the island with all the other monarchs, and they have to put their blood on the Heartstone, and that's kind of what keeps the magic of the land okay. So she's in her coronation ceremony, she goes to do that. Her blood drops on the Heartstone, and it cracks it. And like everything shakes, and she's like,
Oh
"What the
my
heck is going on?"
gosh.
And we don't know what's happening. But just as we think we're going to find out, the Guardians bomb the temple.
Yes.
She sees her mom running towards her. She's knocked out. And in the epilogue, we found out that it was her mother who set the bomb. And that's the book.
Fade to black. Fade to black.
Fade to black.
And I think just as that Heartstone broke, the monarchs were like, you're not, like, you're a imposter. Like, you're not a real one. And so even as a reader, we're like, wait, is she like, was she really meant to be the queen? Or is it because she's got this unusual power that she like took it off someone else, like Luther? Like, why did this Heartstone break? Like, you're very like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. And it's like ends in like a massive cliffhanger, just like book one. Which is great.
This book is like 90% frustrating. And then that last 10% is like, wow, oh my gosh, like everything happens. Like one, we get the super passionate, like kissing scene between Luther and DM finally. No spice scene though, no spice scene. Because then they go, like they're always like, oh, we have to go here immediately. Like we can't just have a night to process our feelings and stuff and recover from the challenging. Oh no, we literally have to like jump on a boat like an hour after challenging and go out to this coronation. Like no time. No time. Time is never their friend in this book. Never, ever, ever, ever their friend.
No. No. That gets even worse in book 3.
Awesome. All right. So in this book, what makes this Romantasy book, do you think, unique or different compared to others?
So, I mean, obviously the first way that I would answer this is just that, and this isn't unique in a good way, but it is unique. She sticks with her childhood love for a very long time. I feel like that's not common. You often get them, they get over their childhood love very quickly usually, and she does not. And that is unique. The other thing that I will say that I found unique and like really interesting is the idea of the challenging. I feel like that was some, the aspect that like you get the crown, but then people can challenge you for it in this period of time. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I really spoke about that. I really like the politics. Oh,
yes.
I don't know if I liked it, but it added another layer to this story that just because she got the crown, it wasn't like, oh, now you're the ruler and now you're the queen. It was like, oh, no. Now she had to go through the process of a challenging and get the families, the houses of the realm to like support her. Otherwise, they would potentially challenge her. So she was trying to win them over. And then you obviously had the challenging. So even though she had the power, she didn't have power. There was a lot of politics involved as well, which definitely added an additional layer to this story, which was really interesting. I also think with the childhood romance, like it was super frustrating with Henri and that. But yeah, it's interesting that like in most other books, they do move on from it quite quickly and they just, get over that. And I did understand that maybe part of it was around her holding on to her mortality, like not wanting to let that go. Almost a bit similar to Nesta and how Nesta didn't want to let go of her mortality. But she did it sexually. She still hooked up with Cassian multiple times while she was going through that process, which like, DM could have done the same. She could have been hooking up with Luther as she found her way towards letting go of Henri. But so I get that like maybe that was what she was trying to show, that wasn't just about Henri. And she was just so committed to her promises. Oh, but I promised him. I made a promise and now therefore I have to stick to it forever, even if it was a really bad decision. Like that frustrated the hell out of me. Like I feel like about halfway through the book, she was aware that maybe this wasn't a great promise, like it wasn't a great decision on her behalf, but she was still committing to it because she'd made a promise, and that's where it got frustrating for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. I understood the motivation 100%. Like, in fact, the motivation in the moment made sense, right? She felt like she was losing herself. She felt like she was losing her mortality. She felt like she was changing. She was worried about what that would be like. So it makes sense to me why she did it. It just, she clung on for a little too long for my
Yeah,
taste.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think I can talk later about that. I think that it probably could have been delivered a little bit differently that might have made that more acceptable. Like, I think if Henry hadn't been so bad and if Luther had maybe been a little more morally grey, it might have made it a bit more justified that she was like, oh, but maybe I don't like Luther and maybe Henry's not so bad. But Henry just came off so bad and awful and just
Yeah.
not a nice person whatsoever. And Luther was just heavenly beautiful. And so you just found yourself going, like, this is light bulb. Like, how can you not?
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you
Yeah.
not see this DM? Like, she started coming off as not being overly smart in her decisions. And yeah, that's my only like feedback. Is just I felt
Yeah.
like if they'd been a little bit more grey, both those characters, it might have justified that more.
Yeah. Right. But I will say, back to your earlier point, like the politics are very good in this book,
Oh
and
yeah,
they are something that
amazing.
really sets it apart. And I love palace intrigue as a trope. I love politics. I like having that to deepen the world. And it was so great that we got all of those politics.
Yeah.
You know, definitely something that I often miss in my romantic books.
Yeah, well, it's great because there is so much magic in this book as well. And they even have that people don't know how much magic they're going to get. Some people get a lot of magic, some people don't get much magic at all.
Mhm.
Magic does determine the crown, but then there's so much politics as well that the politics, it's a bit Game of Thronesy. Like, just
Yeah.
because you're
Right.
magical doesn't mean that you can't still be controlled by others and others can't try and
Right.
take the crown and take your power because, they've sort of infiltrated ways to challenge that, obviously with the challenging. So it was really well
Absolutely.
done,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes. I mean, I felt like this was a really I feel in many ways this is a very traditional romantasy book. Like it's
Mhm.
but it's executed generally really, really well.
Yeah.
Just all the different, like her going from sort of a mortal to being super powerful, learning her power, the enemies to lovers, forced proximity. There's so many aspects to it that are very traditional romantasy, but as I say, I love the depth of the world. I love the magic system. I love the politics. It just adds so much more to these stories and makes it so enjoyable. And then when you get those little tick boxes of the things that we love in
Yeah.
romantasy they're like you're getting like all this new world and the politics and the world building, and then you get like, oh, tick shadow powers, oh, tick there's a
Yeah.
Griven. Yes, like
And if the world building wasn't as deep and the book wasn't as good, I feel like the presence of so many like romantasy tropes would be maybe like either overwhelming or you would be like, okay, all right, come on. But it works for the book because
it's done
everything
so
else is
well.
so yeah, it's done so well. So it works. It's so great that you get all those things and you also get this awesomely new, unique world.
Yeah, yeah. I love the Griven. I love the Griven and the
Yeah.
relationship
The
she has
relationship
with
is great.
Saray. Like and this is back to the first book, but when she first meets it and they have like this moment where she almost wants to go and touch it. And there's just
Yeah.
and then in this book we obviously start getting that connection where Saray is really protective of her, like where everyone else is kind of influenced by the
Mhm.
politics and they're like, oh, you're not really the ruler yet. Like that's not the case for Saray. Saray is like, you are my queen and I am now forever bound to you. And she loves her and she's so protective of her. And I love that, like, throughout the book, Saray's just going to kill people left, right, and center that
Yeah,
it come
yeah.
anywhere near DM. Like, DM hasn't figured out her power yet, but Saray's like, I got you, girl. Like, I got you. I'm going to sort them out. So I
And
love.
there are really great scenes when like her and Luther are fighting, or I think when she is like testing her magic with Luther and she finally is able to use it. And so Ray's like, I think Luther says something like, you better call off your Gryvern before she tears down the entire palace getting to you. And she's like, okay, sorry, I'm fine. Like, I just love it. It's so great.
I love it. And even I love like this little relationship they have. Not this was actually a pretty intense scene when she's like trying to pick an outfit for the funeral, and like Saray's there helping her make a decision, and she's like, oh, I better just be good and just wear black, and Saray's like telling her no, and then she
No,
pulls
don't
out
do
this
that.
red sparkly number, and Saray's like, yes, that one, and then DM's like, oh no, I can't wear this is way too standout, like no, I just need to be like all subtle and wear black. And then she arrives to the funeral
Yeah.
and everyone is in red, and it's like the biggest offense to wear black to a funeral. And
Yeah.
she is like just done the most heinous thing. So Ray was trying to help her, but yeah. But no one helped her in that moment. I was very disappointed at Lily and who else was meant to be supporting her at that stage. Like they let her down massively in that
Yeah,
funeral
they
moment.
really
Like,
did. They should not have done that. But I will also say the funeral scene is one of the best scenes of the book because you have Luther and Taryn and I can't remember the name of her other friend, and they're all just like giggling and laughing and like cracking jokes
Eleanor,
during
I
this
loved
like
it.
funeral, and it is the first time that you really see her really like bonding with them, and
Yes.
it's such a good scene. I
Yes.
really love the funeral
I
scene.
agree. And this is when we first get a real introduction to Taryn as well, which is he's such an awesome
I love
character.
Jessica
And he's
Biel.
and in
Yeah.
this moment where she's so stressed because she's made this huge faux pas mistake.
Yeah.
And he's just like, don't even worry about it. Like, come sit with
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna look after you. Like, he's
Yeah.
just perfect.
Yeah.
And where Luther's all dark and brooding, Taryn's all charismatic and light and funny
He's
and
the
just
Cassian. Yeah.
yeah, he's perfect. He's perfect. Oh, awesome. All right. So, best and worst scenes of this book. What were some of the best scenes for you in this book?
So I obviously already said the funeral. The other kind of like best scene for me is the challenging. I feel like it's kind of a highlight of the book. Obviously, it's the climax. Um, the kiss was great, but I also just like loved the battle. Like I loved
Yes.
her
Yeah, the
battling
battle's
with this
really good.
person. And we haven't said this yet, but she ends up choosing to fight the person who killed the mom and dad or the mom and son in book one.
Yes.
That kind of was the catalyst for her deciding to join the rebel
Mhm.
guardians. So
Yes.
that's kind of just like a great moment that she gets to like, well, she doesn't even kill him at first. She tries to give him mercy, and then he
I know.
tries to
Yet
kill
again,
her.
another moment. It's like the beginning of the moments where she really should kill someone, and then she's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm going to try and not kill you." And then like they just go and like and then attempt to kill her like 3 more times before she eventually has no choice. Like
Yeah. Right.
especially when they deserve it, which like that character 100% deserved it. But yeah, I agree. That was such a good, also because it's when she truly embraces her power and finds it, and then just the whole world changes. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I think it's such an amazing, epic sort of finale of this book. Another moment I really liked in this was when she first uses her power for the first time with Luther. Like Luther brings it out of her. He's like making her really angry, saying things to her to get her to release. And finally she like releases it. And he has to like create this like protection barrier around
Yeah.
them with his power. And she has just destroyed it. Like she's almost destroyed the whole castle, like with the amount of
Yeah.
power, but no one sees it except Luther. And that's our first time of realizing just how powerful she is, how much raw
Yeah.
power she has. And I mean, I think by the end of it, Luther has like barely any clothes on and stuff because
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
has just
Yeah.
ripped through everything.
Yes.
But I loved
And I
that
think
scene.
he says like, "You burned through my entire well of power in like 2 minutes." And she
Yeah.
was like, "Well, how long does it usually take you to like use all your power?" He's like, and he says like weeks. Like it
Yeah.
he's
I'm like,
very powerful. And
she's
she
super
like burned
powerful.
through it in 2 minutes. So it's a really good, and it really highlights for you how powerful she is. That's a really
Yeah,
good call
and
out.
it's kind of like an Aelin moment, isn't it? Like when
Yeah, yeah,
Aelin
yeah.
first finds like this is where like I guess this is why I'm so Sarah J. Massey with it because I'm just like it's like when Aelin first finds her well of power, and because she takes a while for her to get there as well, and so it's so
Mhm.
satisfying when she's finally giving into it and starting to find it. But
Yes. Yeah.
yes, but then the
Worst
frustration
one.
is that then after that she doesn't then. She can't re-find that again. Like she then goes through ages where she just can't find any power at all, and she loses it just as quickly as she gained it.
Mhm. Mhm. For me, the worst scenes. I feel like we've been preaching on this a lot, but it's just everything with Henri. Like I actually love this book. I just like hate that
Yeah.
Henri is in it at all. He's he's so annoying and so
Yes.
clearly bad, and like I can't, I don't even
He
want
had
to, I
no
don't even
redeemable quality. There was
no.
zero redeemable
Zero.
quality in Henri.
Mhm.
Nothing that you said, "Oh, he was good because of this." Nah, he's an asshole. Like that was just
Every
through and through.
moment they're together, he does something that just like is even worse, you know?
Yeah,
It's just awful.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't really have any other worse scenes. I wish I did.
Exactly. No, and I'm
But
the same. I've just got here Henri, Henri, Henri. Like he just drove me mental. I think the worst for me was when she first got the crown and he was like shocked and appalled by it. She then
yeah.
went and offered to marry him because to try and be like, well, now at least like you could rule with me and then we'd have a mortal ruler. And like he's so awful in how he's responded to it. And then she offers him marriage. It was just like,
I
are
know.
you serious? Like, and I get that, she was maybe holding on to her mortality and she hadn't developed relationships with Luther and that yet, but you just felt like going, settle down, sweetheart, calm down, just take a moment, take a breath, because, like,
Well,
have a
and
think
then
of this. This is a big
instead of
commitment.
being like, "Oh my god, yay, I love you, like we can be together," he's like, "Oh, so I'm going to be king."
Yeah,
And you're just
exactly.
like, "Oh god, he's bad. He's bad news." Like even Tamlin, I feel like was motivated by love. Even though
Yes,
he did
exactly.
bad things, he was still motivated by love of Feyre. And I think if Feyre had ever like been like, "Actually, I do love you," he would have been like, "Oh, thank God." Like he probably wouldn't have had good actions, but he would have been like, "Oh, thank God, like you're with me."
Yeah.
But he doesn't even do that. I don't even think he's motivated by love. He's just
Not
motivated by
motivated by
power and
power
hatred.
and yeah, exactly. Like as you pointed out, like Tamlin had redeemable qualities, really. Like in that first book, he did love Feyre. And even in the second book, he did love her. He just got ridiculously controlling of her. Like he just kept being wanting to protect her, but to the point that it was smothering her and not
Yeah,
realizing that she needed more, that she needed
yeah,
more freedom. And and that's sort of what led to their demise. And he was so like confounded by like the rules of things. Like he was like, oh no, you can't be high queen. You can, high lady. You can only be a
yeah,
lady.
right.
He was like, he was very conformist, and those things were what caused this kind of crack in their relationship. Whereas Henry's just bad from the minute that he like doesn't want to take the, you know anti-pregnancy potion. I'm trying to think, what do they call it?
Contraceptive
Anti-pregnancy
tonic,
potion.
anti-pregnancy potion. That is such a like fantasy way to put it.
That's
Every
that's
next
what
time
I'm
I
doing.
take, I'm like, as I'm like
That's
taking
what I'm going to call it in my
multiple pills,
novel.
I'm gonna be like, "This is my anti-pregnancy potion."
Next time you're taking your pill, you'll be like, my anti-pregnancy potion.
Because
Oh
I'm like,
man,
I mean, it is. It's magical. It's magical. It's a
we're doing
potion.
great today. We're doing really
Yeah,
good.
we're doing
Um,
really good.
but yeah, that was just like, he was already like showing how selfish he was, and he didn't really
Yeah,
care about her. He was just caring about himself, and just from there onwards, it just got worse and worse and worse every time Henry came into scene. So this was in that way a very frustrating book just because of Henry.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So our FMC and MMC, what did you like about DM and Luther in this book?
In this book, I mean, Luther just got better and better and better in
Yeah.
this book. I mean, he just like everything he does is to protect and help DM, like at every
Yes.
moment,
Yeah.
So I, like everything is my answer about Luther.
Exactly. He's
Like
flawless. He's
he's
flawless as
flawless.
our
Yeah.
perfect MMC. He really is.
Yeah. And he like sits there and like watches her pine after Henry, and he just is gonna let it happen. It breaks my heart. It
It
just breaks
does,
my heart
it
for him.
does. You're so right. Calling it out that it's a bit like Tamlin and Rhysand is so accurate, because it's like that, but like so much worse,
So much.
because
Yeah.
like I don't know, where Rhysand had an opportunity to take her away and sort of win Feyre over, like in this one, like DM is there. It's like, oh, I'm betrothed to Henri. I'm betrothed to Henri. And Luther's just having to go, okay, like I can't keep my hands off you. I'm so determined to protect you. I want to help you grow. I want to make sure you live through this challenging.
Yeah.
He just says these lines that make you melt every single time.
I know.
But it takes DM a really long time to realize that like she needs to stick with Luther, like 100%.
Yeah.
So
And I think like at one point he's like, let's just get through the challenging. And if after that you truly want Henri, you want to make him your king, I will stand by you. I will do everything I have to do to make that happen for you. And you're just like, oh my God, Luther.
Because he loves her that much that he's like, I will live in eternal like misery just to know that you're happy. And you know what? He's human. He'll only live for like another 80 years or something. And then I can go with you afterwards, maybe.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe.
like,
I'll wait for
willing
you
to
that long.
wait.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because you just get this feeling like he knows they're mates. Like he knows that like they're meant to be together, and like he can like feel her power, but she's like fighting it because she's obviously holding on to her mortality, and then not only that, but sort of seeing what a mistake Henri is as well, but still wanting to support that because it's what she wants.
Because that's what she wants. Yeah.
Oh,
so good.
Yeah.
Now, DM, on the other hand, is extremely frustrating in this book, more so than maybe in any book. I love when somebody has to really work for their power. That is something that I do like to see. And I like to see that she had to work for her power, that she, even though she may have had moments where she was feeling like, I can't do this, she never gave up. I love that she really went toe to toe politically with all the houses with like no experience like at all doing that. And I love that about her.
Yes.
So there were definitely things about her that I liked, like, but they were all unrelated to her love life. Outside of her love life, she was pretty good.
Yeah.
Her love life, very annoying.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm like, I like her as a character. Like I like sort of the person that she is, her bravery, that she will just like fight for stuff no matter what, that sort of thing. But her decision making is extremely frustrating. That was where my line was drawn to kind of say, when she was you could understand her holding on to her mortality and things for a while, but it did get to a point where I know you're trying to slow burn it, but it kind of got to a point where it started to be like, okay, DM is starting to look like she just makes bad decisions. The same thing for not killing off characters that are potentially going to kill her. Again, kind of came across as being not good decision making.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Well, anything else you want to add to this one? I mean, we've got here like chemistry and the spice, but well, I guess was there chemistry? There was chemistry, no spice, but there was definitely some moments. Like this book was total tease. Like it teased us a few times. There were a few times that they kind of got a bit touchy feely, right? If I recall, there was a few times where they started to kind of.
There are,
yes.
There are.
But it would just stop. like they would get to something had happened.
The ball scene when they were dancing, I loved that scene. And like, because she's been like dancing with all these people all night long, and it's the last dance of the night. And he comes, and they just like are so into each other, and they can't keep their hands off each other. And everyone was like, "Oh shit," And all night long, the cousin, is trying to like position it that they're gonna get married, and it's like, and then Luther shows up, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, they're in love." Like everyone knows. I love that scene. I love, like, there were many scenes where they were like really close to one another, and you're like, "Oh,
close proximity."
Close proximity. Yeah, there's a lot of really great like tension, slow burn scenes that you just live for. They just didn't go anywhere in this book.
Oh my God. When she's hooking up with Henri, like I think the one spice scene in the book is when she nearly hooks up with Henri and Luther walks in, and I'm just like, no, DM, no. Like, why? Why would you do this? Why would you do this when you've got Luther and your body is telling you want Luther? Like, I don't even know how you physically do it with like Henri. Like, I don't actually know how you even give
No.
your body
And
to
then
him.
Henri is like trying to order Luther around, being like, I'm your future king. And you're just like, okay, little boy. Okay. You clearly have some issues. Like, you
Please
did
just
not get
kill
to grow
him
up
now
against
for us.
Luther.
Like, thank you so much. And you just like shadow powers, just kill him right now. That'd
Yeah.
be amazing. Like, awesome.
It would have been great.
Yeah,
But he doesn't. He's just like, I'll escort you out. And you're like, oh my God.
Oh my God. But beautiful Luther being Luther, he was actually very patient and didn't have like didn't let this deter him from his DM.
No,
He was stuck
no,
by
he
her
didn't.
regardless of,
Yeah.
actually what did he say about it? He was like, I'm just gonna hang around until you realize like who's gonna worship you
Yeah,
the
I
way
think
you
he had a
deserve or
great
something like
line
that.
there. Yeah, I think he had a really great line there. I wish I could remember what it was, but it was a good line.
Yeah, I can't off the top of my head. Yeah. All right. Who is your favorite secondary character?
Easy question. It's Taryn. Taryn is amazing. Taryn's the best.
Hey.
Taryn is like the Cassian of this series and also has like a very distinctive personality, like different from Cassian in many ways. Love him. Love his like sacrilegiousness. Love how he's just always cracking jokes. Like, he's so great.
I know. He's this character that even when that funeral scene happened, I was like, wait, who's this Taryn? And I'm confusing him with the cousin that's like the bad, because he's the brother of, now I'm trying to think what his name is, the guy that's like really doesn't have a
It
lot of
starts with
power.
an A. Yeah, but I can't remember what it is. But it's Taryn's brother. So we can just say Taryn's brother, whose name starts with an A. You can tell that we've read a million other books since then. Taryn's brother, whose name starts with an A.
I was confusing them. Then I was like, no, wait, this is a brother. And I'm like, oh, and he's just like beautiful. He's so funny, cracking jokes, adding this lightness to the story that really is needed. He's just perfection. He's perfection.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll say he's exactly what DM needed to start to truly bond with the people of this world. Like, to actually engage with the Descended and really start to see them as real people. So,
yeah. My favorite scene in this book with Taryn is when they've had like a training session and it doesn't go anywhere. And he says to her, like, you're one of my new best friends. Like, we're so close. I really care for you. But if I see you hurt Luther, it's going to make me hate you. And that was such a great scene. Like, just the rawness, the realness, the moment that you're like, see, DM, everyone knows, everyone sees it, everyone knows that like he's in love with you and that you're in love with him and you're just clinging on to this like stupid mortal boy. But I really, really love that scene with Taryn. It really deepened his character and like helped you understand how much he truly loves Luther.
Yeah, exactly. And was hopefully helpful in showing DM that there were people that loved him so much that he was actually a pretty good guy. So, Taryn was such a important part of the story that we just needed. And I loved him. And hopefully we get a happy ending for Taryn as well in the next book. So, favorite quotes. What were some of your favorite quotes from this book?
So I think I only put one in here, but there were a lot of really good ones. And of course, they're always from Luther. But I really loved, you are the fate my heart was spared for. As long as it beats, you will never fight alone. I was just like, oh, that's so sweet.
Like, Pen Cole, she writes what she writes. Beautiful lines. There are so many you can pull out. So many. But anyway, this is what I've gone for. It's obviously from Luther. I think every line I pick is from Luther. I just don't even ignore all other lines.
Yeah.
I want to burn alive in the fire in your eyes. I want it to melt me down and forge me into the weapon you need me to be. I want to stand by your side for the rest of my life, and I don't need you to marry me and make me a fucking king to do it.
So good. Oh my God.
That is why we love Luther. That is the lines he delivers. It is fucking amazing. It is just,
He just
Forge
says
me
like
into
all
the
the best
weapon you
things.
need me to be. Oh my God. I will stand by your side for the rest of my life. And I don't need you to marry me. And I don't need to be your king. I
I
just
don't
want
need to be
you.
king.
And I'm
I
just
just want
like,
you.
oh my God. How is she still committing to Henri after lines like that? That is where the frustration
I
comes.
know.
Like, I am
know.
a melted puddle in the floor. Like, I'm a puddle that is clinging to Luther's shoe at this point. Like, I will be on his shoe. It's like, I'm committed to you for life, Luther. Yeah. Strong
I,
emotions about
yeah,
Everflame.
very
Okay.
strong. Do you have a second quote, or did you just have one?
Mm, no, only one more. That if a man made you doubt whether his love for you would survive anything, he does not deserve you. Which is yet again Luther giving a dig at Henri to say
Yeah.
that he's an asshole because all he wants you for is to become king and he doesn't actually care about you. So there were definitely a
And
few lines like
he only loved you when you were mortal, when he thought you were a human.
that.
Like, and Luther
Exactly.
sort of implying like, I would love you no matter what you were. Like,
Total freaking asshole move. Total asshole move. So yes, no love for Henri here in this podcast. All
mhm.
right. What was the best use of a romantasy trope in this book?
So this one's hard because there's so many. Like, they're like
Yeah.
there's like all in there. So I really tried to come up with like what is unique to this book and kind of different or something. But I could
Yes.
literally pick any trope. But so the one that I picked is the ex love interest as a trope, like having the former love interest around to make DM
Mhm.
super jealous.
Yes.
Even though
Yes.
she says she's like, I don't have feelings for him, and yet anytime like Luther's ex-lover or whatever is around, she is like wanting to claw her eyes out. I think it's so great. It just helps like ratchet up the like
Yes.
tension between them, and like that she like clearly loves Luther and does not want anyone. It's almost like reverse touch her and die. It's like touch him and die, and she's like, I'm gonna freaking kill you if you touch Luther again.
Yes, yes, yes. Mind you, she's still freaking betrothed to Henri, so it's like she doesn't exactly have ownership of Luther. But yeah, I was
No.
totally no, we definitely don't love the ex love interest. Like, and she's not
Yeah.
even a nice person to boot. So
No.
it's not
No.
like there's such a clashing between the two of them. And yeah, it definitely, I guess it did help her to start realizing the feelings that she actually has for Luther.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
very well
mhm.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
I had that I thought we did a really good kind of mortal healer to powerful queen in this book. Like I love that trope we have where they just think they're a normal mortal, then they find out they're actually like the most powerful
Yeah.
person in basically all the realms. And
Yeah.
then her finding her power, I thought that was done really well. Where she obviously, say similar to Aelin, she couldn't find her power initially. She couldn't access it. She didn't know how to use it. Obviously,
Yeah.
she's been taking the is it mirth root her whole the whole time,
Awesome.
and so she can't control her power. She's only just learning and she's doing a really bad job of it. So I thought I really loved how, and then over the book she finally learns how to use that power, and then by the end she fully accesses her power, and that leads
Yeah.
to the whole epic finale, which was done really, really well. So that was what I think was the
Absolutely.
best for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think was your peak romantasy moment?
Okay, so for me, the peak romantasy is all of her dresses because I feel like in romantasy books, we love a good dress moment. Like,
Mhm.
like I think back to when Violet wears the backless dress in front of Xaden,
Yes.
with her hair down, or like
Mhm.
Farah being in like her amazing dress at Starfall. Like, I don't know, I just feel like a good moment for a good dress is very romantasy, and there were some excellent moments with dresses in this book. I mean,
Yes.
the first, and you almost get like the subversion of that trope, and then you get the real use of that trope because you get the subversion when she goes to the funeral and she wears like this really dour, ugly black dress that ends up being a terrible decision. But then she goes to that dinner with all the cousins and she's like, oh, I'm going to make Luther, because she knows that she's like feeling jealous of the ex, and so she wears this like skimpy little thing that's just like tiny little
Barely
panels of elastic.
covering
Yeah, barely
anything,
covering her.
and Luther's
And
jaw is on the floor.
yeah, and Taryn's brother, whose name starts with an A, who's her date, is like touching her everywhere, and Luther's like losing it. It's just like it's such a great dress moment. And then she also like wears an amazing dress to the ball, like her kind of like queen's
Yes.
ball.
I
So
love that in this, it's like the descendants, they wear really like provocative,
yeah,
like, gowns, dresses, like they really wear the mortals, obviously they're quite poor and they don't really have anything. So fashion isn't a thing there. But in the descended realm, they're just like, they go all out. And it's like the skimpier, the better, the
yeah,
sparklier, it's all plunging necklines and it slits up the side. And
yeah.
it's wonderful.
It's great.
Perfect.
I just love a good dress moment in a romantasy
Love,
book.
love a
Yeah.
good dress moment. I just had like Luther offering himself to challenge to give in order for her to kill him, being
Yeah.
like the epic romantasy moment. Like it's such a shock. Like first of all, we get the challenging and we're thinking we're going to end up with one or two houses maybe going against her, particularly the one that's been like the enemy the whole time. But then we end up with all 20 houses going against her. And then Luther at the end offering himself to challenge, which also breaks the promise that his dad had made that like their
Oh,
house was not going
right.
to challenge. And then he lost all his power. So
He
that just
loses
like
all
added
the
another
magic.
political dimension to what Luther
Mhm.
did. But yeah, then I was like, oh my gosh, like Luther has offered himself as well. And I'm just like, what? And then, of course, I've also clicked. I'm like, oh, he's done it so like she can like she'll be thinking what he's betrayed me, but actually he's just thinking, well, you can kill me. I will like fight you, and you can kill me, and then you'll be rescued. You'll be safe. And I'm
Not even only that, he's saying, I'm going to kill myself, but I'm going to make it look like you did it because you still haven't found your power and your
yeah,
magic. Like
yeah,
that, yeah, very good peak
yeah.
romantasy moment.
I have to
Someone
admit,
sacrificing
in this
themselves.
story, and I
Yeah,
don't know, maybe I was like too busy rush reading because I was trying to get to spice scenes, but like I was like, is she going to have to fight all 20 of them now? Like I didn't know if she had to fight all 20, but she ended up just having to pick one challenger out of the ones that had come forward. So actually it
yeah.
wasn't really a smart thing for the houses to do. Like they really should have like actually just been like, okay, let's just pick the most powerful houses to contest, so she'd only have the pick of like 3 really powerful houses, whereas she ended up with a
Well,
pick of 20 and she could pick someone
they
less
didn't.
powerful.
So normally it's not a pick though. That's was the thing. And I think again, like it was like there were like a lot of nuances around the challenge at the
Mm.
end. But what it was it was like it's always the strongest person. So it doesn't
Yes.
matter how many challengers there are, the strongest person fights you. And so they're all assuming that that strongest person will be from that one house that again I can't remember the name of it that they really hated
Hannah.
them. Hanover, yes, thank you, Jean Hanover or something.
Mhm. Yes.
And so the Hanovers convinced every single house to challenge her just to make a political statement. Like
Mm.
none of the other houses actually thought they'd have to fight her because they were like, oh well, it'll be John who has to fight her because he's the most
Yes.
powerful.
Mhm.
The rest of us are just doing this to make a political statement. And then it's her dad that's able to kind of like twist the politics and be like, well, this is unprecedented. So we're going to let her pick. And that was like not what they thought was going to happen.
Normal.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I like it. Well, it
It's
added
good.
another extra level of
It did.
intrigue to the story. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so did anything surprise you about this book? Anything surprising you
Um,
weren't expecting?
I mean, again, I don't want to belabor this because I feel like we've talked about it a lot so far, but just that she held on to Henry for so long and that there was no spice. Um, I was not surprised that her mom led the Guardians because I knew it. I knew that's what we were going to find out. That was cool. And then just like I was pleasantly surprised by all the politics with all the different houses. I thought
Yes,
that was cool.
yes.
Yeah.
I actually didn't click that her mum was going to rule the Guardians. I sort of I don't you know what? I didn't think about it because I was too busy thinking about spy scenes and I was just wanting Luther and her to hook up. So I probably didn't give it a whole lot of thought. I didn't like try and solve that riddle. I was just like, I'm like, oh, of course. Like I think I realized once we kind of saw in the end of the last book, it talked about her mum being sort of on the island. I think at that moment, but I hadn't clicked anything about it until then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
in for book one, as soon as Henry was like, "Oh, the Guardians are actually led by a woman," I was like, "Oh, that's her mom. That's got to be her mom."
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I probably another surprise moment was the funeral and everyone being dressed in red, and then there actually being a really good
yeah,
justification for why they do that in their kind of
Mhm.
culture and why the black was so frowned upon. I mean, once we started having that moment where Saray was trying to encourage her to wear the red number, I was like, ooh, I feel like I feel like black's going to be a bad choice here. But then when it
Yeah.
happens, you're like, whoa, really bad choice. Really,
Yeah.
really bad choice. Okay. So, yeah.
That would
All
be
right.
really good.
Oh, here we go. This is going to be fun. Areas for improvement. What would you cut or change about this book?
So, okay, so as we've been talking, it's like obviously we would say we want to get her away from Henry like faster. But I actually think that maybe what could have been really good is maybe she stayed with Henry for as long, but she had more moments where she sort of like slipped up with Luther. So we got, like a little bit of spice, and that would almost like make her guilt to Henry make more sense. Right? Like maybe there's like maybe even just 2 moments, right? Where she loses her control and that carnal, desire overcomes her.
With Luther,
And her and
yes,
Luther hook up.
I
It
can
doesn't have to be a
support
full
this
hookup.
recommendation.
Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. Like I'm betrothed to Henry," and that would like make her motivation for clinging on to him better, but it would also satisfy us because we get the spice and like I don't know. I just that to me, adding in just a little bit of them hooking up
Yeah.
would have made the book a little bit. I feel like I would have paid more
More
attention to the
palatable.
plot. Yeah, more palatable, but more than that, I just feel like I would have paid more attention to the plot because again, I was just like not like I'm gonna as if I'm flipping pages, but really I'm like touching my Kindle. But just going so fast because I was like, where's the spice? When are they gonna get together?
I could have done with like I think Henry doing something unforgivable about the middle of the book and then and then like DM just kicking him to the curb and saying, nope, you only want this to be king. You don't actually want me. And maybe she's not ready to officially jump into Luther's arms yet, but she lets him go. And then she could heal with Luther. Then she could, go on that healing journey and then finally give in to all her cravings and emotions. But if Penn really wants to push out this slow burn like she does, the other option would have been to make Henry slightly more likable, maybe to still have a little bit of love for her and be very conflicted and have that he doesn't just want to be king, he does also care about her and maybe seeing that just a little bit more. Still like where we go, Luther's still 1,000 times better, but where we don't hate him quite so much so that we can kind of go, I see why she sort of still has something there and he's not completely unredeemable, but Luther's still 1,000 times better. Come on, DM, you got to realize and flick over. That would have allowed me to sort of have accepted how long it went for. Whereas when Henry was just doing so many things that were just bad and so selfish, it just made it really so clear that it was just a bad decision to not just be jumping straight over to Luther.
I think that would have really made him, even if it was just one moment, kind of like vulnerable moment between the two of them where they were really like you could see the love that Henry had for her shining through as opposed to just being
and you could understand then why she'd be sort of grabbing onto that as well. Like all they really had was that spice scene and then him being like, I'm going to be your future king, and you're like, oh my god, like stop, Henry, stop. Okay, what are your predictions for the next book? Knowing that we've actually already read it, but at the time,
so obviously we've already read it. But I did try to make sure I wrote down my little predictions after each book in the like couple of minutes between reading them. So at the end of this book, I was thinking that maybe her father, DM's father, was maybe like Lemnos's mortal lover, and that there would be some kind of like parallel between Lemnos's mortal lover going bad and DM's mortal lover Henry going bad, like something there maybe, because like we know that Lemnos fell in love with a mortal and gave up her power to live with him. I was also thinking that maybe her father was potentially one of the mortal gods.
Okay.
But if that was true, like I wasn't sure like where do her descendant powers come from. So basically all my predictions and questions were about DM's father.
Yeah. Well, my predictions were just a spy scene, followed by another spy scene, and then an additional spy scene, and a spy scene, and a spy scene. Like, now that we had gone 2 whole books with no spice, I was like, this next book should be
Book
freaking
3 is
hot.
gonna go
This
off.
next book should
Yeah.
be Silver Flame level. It should be like, and she's accepted Luther. Like she's now accepted him. She said, I want to be with you. I want to give you my heart. Like maybe she's not fully at the mates level yet, but she's there. I'm like, this is going to be a hot, steamy book. The next book has to be hot as hell. So all I could think about was Spice and how I just really, really needed them to connect at this point. I can't think about much else. I guess I did think that maybe I wondered whether her mum also had powers. Like I sort of thought like, yes,
Oh,
we know
yeah.
obviously her dad is going to be like super powerful in that, but I kind of wondered whether I kind of keep wondering whether there is some power in the models that's been kind of diluted out, but whether a part of her power is actually that side too. So I was curious to see that. And yeah, but I just thought it was just, you know what, that was just the big adventure, bigger, better, but with lots of Luther and DM. Spice, left, right, and center, every room, Jennifer Armentrout, like just that's all I want for the next book. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
748 pages of Spice. Yes.
Yes, good predictions. If you're reading along and you haven't read book 3 yet, we won't spoil anything for you, but that's what we're predicting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So what is your final book rating for Spell with the Everflame?
So I feel like it's still a 4-star book for me. Like I don't think it's at the 5-star book level yet, even though I would say it's a 5-star series.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the first one was maybe like a 4.5. This one was almost maybe like a 4.2. Like it just went down a little bit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But like somehow this book is also elevating and making this series more of a 5-star series. So I don't really know how that
works. I know. I feel like the frustration level is what pulled it back for me.
Yeah.
As a book, as a series, what it's growing into is so amazing. And as you say, easily 5 stars, even cusping into the 6-star realm. Like it's such a good series. But the frustration of like how slow DM gets to kind of get to Luther and Henri, there's some real frustrations in this book. And it does just remove the joy a little bit and this ridiculous slow burn. Like, as I said, kind of, we had a big chat about this. And I think outside of this podcast about, you know, do we like that there's normally a recipe? We normally know at about the halfway point or about 75% of the way, you're going to get your spice scene. That's just a traditional romantasy rule book that we tend to have. And it's like, well, we kind of like them changing that up a bit and surprising us. We also wonder whether there is a reason for that, because if you don't get that, you do start to feel a degree of frustration. We want to see our characters fall in love and then have that connection. And when they don't get there, it just after 2 books, like you feel like now you've invested a lot of time into this relationship. You start feeling very frustrated. And that is definitely the way I felt in this book. So for me, it does just remove that half a star to bring it into the 4-star category. It's like a 5-star book, but 4 stars because of the frustration. But it's a 5-star book, if that makes sense.
Right. It totally makes sense. And it's like, you know, I read fantasy romance for a reason, right? Like I'm not trying to expand my mind. My mind is fine. I'm not trying to like, you know, I'm not trying to get smarter.
I know what I like.
You know, I know what I like, right? Like I'm reading this to escape, to have like a nice thing to do when I'm like stressed out about work or whatever. And so it's like sometimes you just want that 75% spice scene, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm getting there.
And look, I know I have read and one of my other favorite books did the same thing to me, which is Once Upon a Broken Heart, like Ballad of Never After. I devoured that book in about 8 hours. And I probably didn't realize when I read it, I hadn't really looked up that it was YA. So you obviously weren't going to get it. But that was another book that spread out that slow burn for so freaking long. And it does cause a degree of pain. And there is a part of me that loves that pain. There's like sadistic part of me that loves it.
Yeah.
But
I love the pain.
Yeah, but at the
same
time,
want the reward. I want the treat for the pain.
The treat.
The treat. I want to be rewarded for dealing with the pain for so long.
Exactly, exactly. You need enough payoff to go, okay, this is worth it. This is worth it. This has been worth my
Yeah.
time. And look, those books were like 300-page books, whereas this book, we're now looking at 550 pages. So it's a bigger book and
Yeah.
plenty of time in there to have thrown in a little spice, to have thrown in just a little, even if it was just, level one, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Just
maybe not all the
something.
way, but just some of the way would have even just been great. They just lost themselves to carnal desires or something at some point. But
Like, similar to what we got between Luther and DM in book 1. Like, they
yes,
had that moment in book 1 where they sort of, like, both were just, like, kissing each other very
yeah,
passionately.
it's like
And it's
we
like
got it. Like from enjoyment purposes, I actually enjoyed book one more than book two
same.
because I felt
Yeah,
like book
I
one
agree.
was sort of following a traditional process and I could see where it was going. I was really enjoying it. Whereas book two was like they came to a grinding halt, went backwards with the whole Henry situation and then had to start all over again. And that was just super
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But still love the series, 5-star series. I'm really looking forward to the finale of this series. I can't wait. I
Me
really can't
too.
wait for book
Me too.
4.
Like,
Even
look,
if
as
it
I
even
said,
if it's gonna be a couple months or whatever till we get it, like, I'm excited for it.
exactly. Look, guys, it's like Throne of Glass and oh, sorry, not Throne of Glass, but like ACOTAR, you sometimes have the book you have to read to get to the books that are really amazing. And they're really important though. When you're trying to recommend the book and you're just like, you just kind of have to get through those first couple of books because then it
Yeah.
gets amazing. This is the same thing. It is building to something sensational. And we're so excited for what the next book is going to bring and then what the final book is going to bring. So well, that's really it for today. So, thank you so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe to our channels. You can catch us at Book Loverholic and Alley Cats and Books. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next week with book 3 of Spark of the Everflame. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.